Okay, moving along in Rosh Hashanah, there's not much time left to do all the dinim. Okay, when Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah comes, so it's concerning the candle lighting. So technically Yom Tov you could light later from a pre-existing flame. Nevertheless, our custom is, and many people have a custom, that they light on Yom Tov, the first night Yom Tov, like a regular Shabbos, not to differentiate between Yom Tov candles, Shabbos candles. Now most people in the bracha say Lahadek Neshel Yom Tov and Shechianu. In Chabad, the custom of candle lighting bracha, only on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is Lahadek Neshel Yom HaZikaron. Because that's what it's called in the Haftarah, it's called Yom HaZikaron. Okay, now when it comes to Ma'ariv, Ma'ariv you have to add a bunch of things for the next 10 days, so to speak. Aser Simei Tshuva, you have to add Zochreinu L'chaim, Micha Meicha, HaMelech HaKadosh, HaMelech HaMishpat, Uchsev L'chaim Tevim, Sefer Bracha Parnas V'Sholem, Eisa HaSholem. These are all things which are added. Bottom line halacha is as follows. If somebody said, Baruch Atah Hashem, Hakel HaKadosh, HaMelech HaKadosh, they corrected themselves right away, that's fine. Because what's called Teich Kedei Dibur, if you could most places, not all places, many places, if you correct yourself within the amount of time it takes to say Shalom Alecha Rebbe, what's called Teich Kedei Dibur in halacha, so then you could just, you said Hakel HaKadosh, HaMelech HaKadosh, that's fine. But if you began the next bracha Ato, Ato Cheinin, then you have to go back to the beginning of the Shemoneh Esrei. If somebody said Hakel, instead of HaMelech HaKadosh, they said Hakel HaKadosh, and it took longer than Teich Kedei Dibur, so then they have to go back to the beginning of the Amidah, the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei. If anywhere in the Shemoneh Esrei you realize that you didn't say the right thing, you go back to the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei. If you finish Shemoneh Esrei, you have to repeat it. What happens if you finish the Shemoneh Esrei, you had so much kavanah, you don't remember what you said. You don't remember, did I say HaMelech HaKadosh? I don't remember, do I say HaMelech HaKadosh or Hakel HaKadosh? So the din is, here it doesn't apply to Simei Tshuva, but because we assume that you daven what you normally daven, so therefore if you don't remember, we assume you said Hakel HaKadosh, and you have to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei. Now by HaMelech HaMishpat, it's a little bit different, because you still say Melech Oyev Tzedakah Mishpat. So technically you don't have to repeat the Shemoneh Esrei because you said the word Melech. In other places it says you should do what's called Tfilas Nedava, but a lot of people say today we don't do Tfilas Nedava because you need a lot of kavanah. All the other things that you left out, Zochreinu L'chaim, Micha Meicha, Uchsev L'chaim Tevim, Sefer, that if you forgot it, you forgot it. You don't have to repeat the davening for that. Now it's interesting also, in the Kaddish, many people say La'elo Ula'ela. So many people say for the whole Simei Tshuva, La'elo Ula'ela. Chabad custom is we only say La'elo Leila at Ne'ilah. That's it. And then it's another interesting thing. Normally we say La'ela min kol birchasa. But there's an exact amount of words of Kaddish. So now if you add La'elo La'ela, you're adding a word. So therefore it says in Kabbalah, then you don't say min kol berchosa, you say la'elu la'ela mi kol berchosa. So you make not min kol, which is two words, you make it mi kol because there has to be a certain amount of words in the Kaddish according to Kabbalah. Okay. What?
There is Kaddish Sephardi and there is Kaddish Ashkenazi. How do you reconcile with the Kabbalah about so much difference?
There's a lot of opinions in Kabbalah also, by the way. No, there are a lot of opinions in Kabbalah. Okay, now after davening on Rosh Hashanah night, the custom is you wish each other Shana Tova tikos if it's a chasem, or if it's a woman tikos vi v'sechasei mi, which is just grammar for a woman. But it's only done the night of Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because in the morning the din is already decided. says too late to say Lashana Teva Tikasevitz. It's already whatever it is. It is. So, but starting, by the way, from Rosh Chodesh Elul, according to other opinions, even from Chaf Av, you can already wish each other Ksiva V'Chasima Tova. Why from Chaf Av? Because Chaf Av is 40 days before Rosh Hashanah, which is Yom Yetziras Havlad, when Adam Rishon was born, and you have the Mem Day, 40 days of Yetziras Havlad. So therefore, already in many places, there are Mekubalim that used to wish already from Chaf Av, which is 40 days to Rosh Hashanah, you already wish Ksiva Chasima Teva. Okay, showing that we said. Now, the night of Rosh Hashanah, B'chlal for the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah, we mentioned yesterday, you should minimize talking, you should say a lot of Tillim and things like that. But many people do a lot of Simonim on Rosh Hashanah to everything that shows we should have a good year. So for instance, it's mentioned in halacha, you don't cook in vinegar. You don't eat bitter, sour foods on Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because we don't have a bitter year, we don't have a sweet year. So people will eat a lot of foods that in any language whatsoever will mean a lot or sweet. I'll give you a few examples. Number one, you eat the head of a, Shulchan Aruch says Reish Ayol, head of a ram, but you can't get it here, so you eat the head of a fish. Why? We should be a head, not a tail. And many people have a minhag of dipping apple in honey. Why do you dip apple in honey? Because the Jews are Chakal Tapuch and Kadishin. The Jews are called the holy apple orchard of Hashem. Say before Kiddush, Chakal Tapuch and Kadishin. The Jews are called the holy apple orchard, so we want to have the Jews dipped in honey. It should be a sweet year. Many people eat carrots on Rosh Hashanah, or tzimis, cooked carrots. Why? Because the Yiddish word for carrots is meren. That's the Hebrew Yiddish word, the Yiddish word for carrots. And meren in Yiddish means to multiply a lot. So you eat carrots because you multiply a lot. People dip the challah into honey, all these various different things. Many people have a lot of different minhagim. But at Chabad we only have the head of the animal, we eat a pomegranate, and we have the apple dipped in honey. That's what we do. And we only say Yiratzen only on the apple dipped into honey. But many people, especially the Sfardim, have a lot of things that they eat, and they say a lot of Yehirot sayings. There's Sfardim where they go through. It's halacha mentions we do things that Hashem should give us a sweet year. If you want to have a bitter year, a sour year, then don't do it. I mean, because Rosh Hashanah includes, we learned already, Rosh Hashanah, it should be called in Hebrew, the head of the beginning of the year. So in Hebrew it should be called Tchilat Hashanah. The same thing, Rosh Chodesh, it means the head of the month, the head of the year. What do you mean the head of the year? The beginning of the year. So you should call in Hebrew it's Tchilat HaChodesh, Tchilat Hashanah. Why do we say Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodesh? So the answer is because the head includes within it the nerve center of the whole body. So it says Rosh Chodesh includes within it the entire month is included in the day of Rosh Chodesh. The entire year, it's not only the beginning of the year, it's the head of the year means it has in it all the days of the year. So the Gemara says, on Rosh Hashanah we know we're judged, right? What type of year we're going to have, a good year, parnasa, health, well, you know, all the things we're judged. Then the Gemara asks this question, but another Gemara says, Adam nidin b'chol yaim, we're judged every day. So what is it that we judge on Rosh Hashanah? Or we judged every day? Which one is it? So explanation is very simple. To give a practical example. Let's say on Rosh Hashanah, it's going to be decreed in heaven, you're going to make $100,000 that year. A few years ago it used to be something. That's it, you're going to make $100,000 a year. Okay. But now the question is, how will that $100 be spent? Will it be spent on, God forbid, hospital bills, medical bills? Will it be on vacations? Will it be, what will it be spent on? So Rosh Hashanah is the general concept. You're going to have X amount of money. Everything is like this. How much money you're going to have for the year? Every day we're judged how that money is going to come down that day. Is it going to fix a leaky roof? or you're going to go to vacation to Hawaii. That's the question. So it's not a contradiction. The general thing is judged on Rosh Hashanah, and the details, how it comes down, that's already on every day. Okay. Now, another interesting din is that when you eat the apple, so first you make Kiddush, then you make a motzi and the challah. And the meaning is you dip challah into honey, again, for the same reason to be a sweet year. And there's also different customs with the honey. Some people put the honey on the challah. Our custom is we dip the challah into honey 3 times. Just like we dip bread. It's not only Shabbos. Salt, every time you eat bread, you're supposed to have salt. You dip it into the salt 3 times. We don't pour the salt, according to Kabbalah, you don't pour the salt on the bread. So why do you dip the challah into salt 3 times? So it says in Allah and Sfarim that the word melach equals 78. Mem lamed ches is 78. Yud kei vav kei is 26. 3 times Yud kei vav kei equals 78. So because the table is a mizbeach la Hashem, so therefore you dip the challah 3 times, because then you have 3 times Yud kei vav kei in the melach, in the salt. So somebody asked the Rebbe, so then what are you doing Rosh Hashanah with dvash? Dvash is not melach. Dvash is Dalit Beishin is 306. So the Rebbe answered, yeah, but lechem also is the same word as melach. So lechem is also 78. So therefore, even our meaning is even the challah we dip into honey 3 times. It's interesting. It's brought down in halacha. There are a lot of different customs. Some people, by the way, if it's sure you need salt on the table. Every time you wash, you need to have salt on the table. But some people would put, interesting, they bring down, there are people that had a minig, they took a piece of challah, one side they dipped into honey, and one side they dipped into salt. So they had both. Some people only used honey, not salt. And our custom is that the first time we dip into honey, and then we dip again into salt. Another piece, not the same piece, so we do both. That's the unofficially Chabad custom. Okay, so then you don't eat salty food. Some people, not salty, you don't eat spicy food. But again, people always ask, can I cook with this and that? It's not Kabbalah. If the bottom line food tastes bitter, you don't eat it. If you put in a little vinegar or whatever, but you don't taste it, you taste the sweet food, so then you can eat it. It's not, again, it's not Kabbalah. We want to eat sweet food. We don't have bitter, sour foods, that's all.
Spicy.
Spicy, again, many people avoid it during Rosh Hashanah. Even though in halacha the expression is chamutzim, things like that. What?
You can buy spicy.
What happens if somebody likes treifa food? What happens? You don't do it.
You can buy spicy.
Rosh Hashanah, you don't.
From the Amazon. Yes.
Okay, anyway. Okay, so people eat pomegranates, we eat the various different foods that people eat. Okay, what's interesting, another thing also, that even though you wash for a meitzi, then you take the apple and honey. So, but you still make a bracha on the apple, very pure eitz. Even though you washed already, so you're middle of the meal. But nevertheless, the apple, like we learned, even during the year, if I wash for a meitzi for a meal, in the middle I take a grape or an apple, I make up the bracha on it. Because it's not, a meitzi covers those things that fill you up. You're not eating the apple to fill you up. You're eating the apple as it tastes sweet during the year. So now also you make a bracha on eitz. And in Chabad we do another interesting thing. After we wash, we take a piece of apple, we dip the apple 3 times also into the honey, and then we make a bracha, very pure eitz, and then we say, even before we eating, and then we eat it. There's long explanations in halacha why it's not called a hefsek, why it's not called the separation between the bracha and the eating.